Hey, so there's something that a lot of people seem to be really, really confused about, and that I myself made this mistake a long time ago at about the same age that I think a lot of people are making this kind of key misunderstanding about other people within the grander context of manifesting and your mind creating reality and all of that. And that is that just because you play a role in somebody else's behavior does not mean that you caused that behavior, that you create that behavior. And I think people feeling like they caused somebody else's behavior, that feels like a responsibility. And then that creates an obligation, a sense of obligation to stay and to, basically take all the blame on yourself and, then stay around and fix it. And this is just a major, 180 wrong turn in the wrong direction away from what actually should happen in that situation, which is that you should recognize that you are a part of the equation in a toxic situation and simply remove yourself from it so that the equation ceases to exist, so that the relationship or the behavior in relation to you ceases to exist. That's the absolute best thing that you can do in just about any circumstance where abusive behavior is involved or toxic behavior is involved. Obviously, I'm not talking about minor relationship disruptions with your mother or your best friend or your boyfriend that you have a great relationship with. It's true across the board in all types of relationships that you will play a role. Obviously, it's always a two-way street in a relationship between two people. But this community has promoted this very toxic idea that you create other people and that basically, you take the same dude and he could show up as Mr. Right or alcoholic, biker, outlaw, and it's all you making that happen. This is a total ridiculous fantasy, and the only people who are purporting this are selling you something. Actually, that's not true. There's two types of people that are promoting this idea: people that are selling you something, people that want to sell you something, and the people that are dying for that to be true, because that's the only way that they think that they can get what they want, is to control another person. That's the only two types of people that put this out there. It's ludicrous and it's infectious and confusing for people who are, outside of that. Is this really true? Do I really create everybody? If you created everybody from the standpoint of God, that's a different story than, the human that's sitting here watching this video. You did not create the person sitting in front of you from the vantage point that you're being told that you can change it. So you did not consciously create it with your thoughts, and you cannot consciously uncreate it with your thoughts, because that person exists outside of you. And the only real responsibility you have is figuring out how you created this situation, not the person. How did you create this situation? What thoughts do you have about yourself and about relationships that caused you to find yourself last night in a knockdown, drag out, hopefully not physically abusive, brawl with your significant other, where you're being abused and perhaps you're doing some abusing back? How did you find yourself in this situation? What caused you to choose this person? What big glaring signs did this person give you in the beginning that this was how it was going to culminate, that they were going to be this person? What did they do that you just ignored? And why did you ignore it? That's all you have to do. That's your job. Your job is not to stay in the relationship and try to change and see how that person reacts and all that shit. If you find yourself in an abusive situation, get out. If you find yourself in a toxic situation, get out, which doesn't always involve, direct abuse or insults or anything like that. You will know the difference by how you feel, okay? You know whether or not you're in a toxic or non-toxic situation by how you feel. So yes, while you play a role in in every situation that unfolds in your life, simply by being a part of it, it does not mean that you caused it. It does not mean that you are responsible for another person's behavior. And I think this can be really, really difficult for people to just believe because they feel bad. They feel, people that find themselves in abusive relationships generally have a deep, deep rooted feeling of being bad, rotten, unworthy, unlovable, easy to leave, just worthless essentially. And that's what causes these relationships to be able to take root, grow, and blossom into the, nightmare that I'm talking about right now. I speak from experience on this. So, it is never your responsibility to stay and to, attempt to change yourself in order to elicit something from another person. It's never your responsibility to stay and endure further abuse, further toxic shit. That is one of the worst things, if not the worst thing about this online manifestation community. It's awful. It's awful advice. It never works. It's just, if there's anyone it's appropriate for, if there's anyone that could do what it's suggesting that you do, that person would already be so powerful mentally that they would never find themselves in that position to begin with. They wouldn't be watching videos on YouTube. So it's just a giant clusterfuck. And there are some major YouTubers pushing this idea. And I want you to know they are getting very, very rich off pushing that idea. And you need to think about that. Anyway, you will know when you're doing the right thing for yourself because you'll feel better. You'll feel good, you'll feel healthy. Sometimes you can feel, you can have a feeling that's like, oh, I feel good. And it's more like you're excited about the idea of continuing to try to control something or continuing to participate in something that's giving you sort of a toxic thrill. There's a big difference between that and the sort of wholesome and good feeling that comes with knowing that you're doing something that is loving for yourself. And right for you. And I really don't like making videos about this stuff because nobody likes to hear this. At least nobody who's desperate to keep a relationship together because they think they're never going to find another one, or they think that, they're so bad that that's the other person is good and they're so bad that they're specifically being treated this way because of how bad they are. There's a lot of toxic beliefs about self that are feeding into the desperation of people in this manifestation niche on YouTube, and it's pretty sad. And I empathize with that. But so, yeah, that's it. I hope this reached the right person at the right time. Don't mire yourself further in whatever bad situation you're in just because some idiot on YouTube told you that you create all other people and exactly how they treat you. Other people do react to you, and other people will treat you differently. And an abusive douche will absolutely treat you differently if you have a sense of self-respect than if you don't. But they're still the same person. They're still the same person, and a person that is whole and complete doesn't associate with people like that. They just don't. It's like two ends of, it's like two magnets coming together and repelling. You don't want to be with or around people like that when you're in a good place. They're not appealing. They're not attractive. They're kind of repulsive, Anyway, that's it. Have a great day.